tomorrow. Ohio State faces number 1 Texas in a top 3 showdown. Can the Buckeyes' new QB and play caller rise to the challenge?
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Feel Good Friday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. During today's show, we had to get one specific individual to join me for the entire show, which this is the day before Ohio State's first game of the year. It's Texas, Ohio State, a top 3 showdown in the shoe. And Coach Mo Murphy is here with us, the host of the Coach Mo Murphy podcast. And Mo, I'm excited to have you on. You're actually down there in the heart of Dallas and Texas. You've been hearing this all week long at the school you're at, that you work at. But I wonder if you've heard people talk trash about Jeremiah Smith and say that Texas is going to lock him down again, because something tells me that Jeremiah Smith is going to bounce back against Texas tomorrow because he doesn't want to have another one-catch performance.
Honestly, no, that hasn't been a topic of conversation. And I'm going to be honest, I don't even think Texas fans realize that they locked down Jeremiah Smith. Because everybody in the world, this might be the best pound for pound football player on both sides of the ball in the country, bar none in college football. He might be the most NFL ready, no matter what position it is. So I think this is personal for him as far as he knows, and it's noted for him. But I don't even think really of all the things that Texas fans are focused on, the one person they are not bringing up is Jeremiah Smith. They're hey, that kid's going to do what he's going to do. It's not about him. We got to stop everybody else. That kid over there, he's going to do what he's going to do, and we respect that. But they're more we got to stop everybody else. Jeremiah Smith's going to do what he's going to do. I don't think they realized that they held him to one catch last year. They did what they needed to do on their side of the ball.
That's weird, because that's all we really talked about afterwards was Ohio State won by 14, and the best offensive player only had one catch. That's all we talked about.
But I think for us, it was such a surprise that we won 28-14 with Jeremiah Smith only having one catch. It was a shock. Because if you would have told any Ohio State fan that they're going to beat Texas 28-14, but Jeremiah Smith's only going to have one catch, we would have said you're crazy.
Yeah.
So that's why it was a focus for us, where even coming into that game last year, Jeremiah Smith was the topic of conversation, but remember it was Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, there was a whole lot of productivity for Texas to really have to focus on, to understand, yeah, they got a guy, this freshman kid is really good, probably one of the best freshmen we've ever seen, but they got seniors and superstars everywhere else that we got to worry about. So, I think Barron, who was a first-round cornerback, he just won his matchup. He won his matchup that day, and I feel bad for if Jeremiah Smith is taking this game personal, based on I got to get my lick back because we won by 14 and I only had one catch. I feel bad for Texas. I really do. If this kid is taking games personal, I feel bad.
He already taken the Michigan game personal, said he hates them. And if he takes his personal, I'm with you. It might be bad. But Jeremiah Smith, to me, in this game, he can't be the focus of the game because he is on the outside. The focus has to be up front. But when Ohio State went to him early, remember the Tennessee with a Tennessee and I think Oregon, where they got him going early and he scored early in that game, it ignited a fire under everybody else, because when JJ got the ball in his hand, you saw how excited he was, how fired up he was, and it was something that went inside of everybody else on the team, and they were off to the races. And I think in this game, you might have to do the same thing, because Michael Taft, safety for Texas, is going to try to do everything he can to confuse the picture of Julian Sayin, first-time starting quarterback. We'll talk about him later in the show. But with Michael Taft being as good as he is, probably a top 5 safety in the country, maybe a future first-round pick, if he is going to try to confuse Julian Sayin, he's got to know where number 4 is. Well, if you get number 4 the ball early, that's going to open up lanes for Cardinal Tate, for Ennis, and even Max Clare to go off on Saturday.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what, I kind of talked about that earlier in the week, was you focus so much on Jeremiah Smith that we have Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis and Mylan Graham and Max Clare. And I trust what we got at running back. I think we're running back by committee, but you can't just double Jeremiah Smith. But at the same time, there's not too many guys in the country that could cover him one-on-one. And so Texas has to prevent Jeremiah Smith from getting the ball early, because the last thing that you would want if you were Texas is the first thing that you would want is if you're Ohio State, is that Julian Sayin gets his momentum and gets his connection with the guy that, remember, Will Howard said, hey, man, if Jeremiah Smith ever one-on-one, I'm just throwing him the ball. So Will Howard told you that while winning a national championship with him. And remember, in the national championship, the catch, to put the game away, he was one-on-one. Will Howard took it deep. Jeremiah Smith caught the ball, game was over. And so if Julian Sayin gets that kind of confidence and that kind of rapport with Jeremiah Smith in this type of game early, and he gets to rolling and he's able to start picking apart everything about Texas's defense because Jeremiah Smith got rolling early, like, it's going to be some problems. And that could create some issues for other teams that have to see Ohio State for the rest of the season. Because if Julian Sayin gets going with Jeremiah Smith against the number one team in the country at the beginning of the season, turns back around, gets to get all the kinks out in 2 games after that don't really matter, and roll back into conference play, knowing that they got Penn State coming up and Michigan and all, but roll back into conference play with Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sayin on the same page the way Will Howard and Jeremiah Smith was at the end of the season, the rest of the world is going to be in trouble, because Jeremiah Smith is the best, pound for pound, probably best football player in the country on either side of the ball.
Let's bring Caleb Downs into this, because you've brought up how he is maybe the best pound for pound football player in the country. Caleb Downs his instincts are insane. His tackling ability is out of this world, and there are a lot of attributes that he has that make him insane. Same with Jeremiah Smith. But I think Caleb Downs' instincts are the one thing that set him apart from the naked eye. Now, you and I can watch ball and see some different things like that, but if you're just watching football for the very first time and you look out there, Ohio State's on defense, you see number 2, you see he's all over the place, but then you see it snap at the ball. He knows where the ball is going as soon as it snaps. His instincts are one of the best things about him. And I think on Saturday, his instincts are going to make things very, very hard for Arch Manning. I didn't send this to you in the text, but I feel like we have to do this very quickly, because Arch Manning is going to be stepping into an environment he has never stepped into before. Not just on the road, but you're the starting quarterback for Texas. You're the number 1 team in the country. You're trying to get your look back against Ohio State. While Ohio State isn't defending a national championship, they're attacking one. Oh, yeah, you got number 2 on the other side of the ball where you have to identify him every single play. I think Caleb Downs in this game is going to be able to confuse Arch Manning all day long, because Arch has never been on a field with a guy like that.
Yeah, I mean, with Caleb Downs, it's kind of like ESPN came out with their top 100 list, and Jeremiah Smith was number 1 and Caleb Downs was number 3. As far as top 100 players, I think I would have put Caleb Downs 2. I think you have Jeremiah Smith, who's the best player on the offensive side of the ball, and Caleb Downs, best player on the defensive side of the ball. And it is his instincts. And the thing is, his hat is just in every play.
Yes.
Like, he's in every play, run, pass, it doesn't matter. And so he's one of those guys that can be a game wrecker. We know he's a future first round pick, probably closer to top 5, top 10 than towards the end of the first round. He's just one of those type of guys, and he's going to be able to confuse Arch a lot. When you're talking about an inexperienced quarterback, I know he has 3 starts, but like you said, before the show, 2 cupcakes and then the worst defense in college football against, in Mississippi State. Like, that's who he's played against, where Julian Sayin looked good in a couple drives that he had in some blowouts last year. So, like, if we're going to go off of that and what they're coming in as, like, you know what I'm saying? So, the same way you think the defense can do what they do, Texas's defense can do whatever you think they can do to Julian Sayin. Like, Caleb Downs himself can do that to Arch Manning. And play, he can make Arch Manning in Texas and Sarkisian call a whole different type of offense and come in and have to adjust to a whole different type of game plan on the fly because of number 2 on the defensive side of the ball.
So that comment Mo just made reminded me of something that him and I talked about before we started recording. We'll discuss that after the break. So, Mo, This episode is brought to you by Gametime. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Gametime, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcasts.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcasts.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. You and I were talking about Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and about Peyton Manning's brain and how he was able to know a lot of things that maybe wouldn't have shown up on film in that particular season because he watched film from the opposing D coordinator's last job 3 years ago, things like that. Well, I think Caleb Downs in this game, he might go back to what Sark did when he was at Alabama in the national championship against Ohio State in 2020, where Sark and was it Mac Jones and Najee Harris and Devonta Smith, all those dudes torched Ohio State. And it wouldn't shock me if Sark tries to go back to a few years ago and say, what worked for us in that game? And if Caleb Downs also went into his lab, looked at that same film and said, I think Sark might pull this out on 2nd and 7 at this part of the field. And when Sark pulls it out, Caleb Downs is right there. His instincts to me, and I know it's college, I'm not trying to put him on Peyton Manning's pedestal, but in college, on defense, it's been a long time since I've seen somebody be able to pick apart an opposing offense before the ball is even snapped. Very similar to Peyton Manning. He was with the Colts. He picked apart the opposing defense before the ball was snapped. And I think for Downs in this game, his ability to be a coach on the field and really find a way to know what's coming before it actually happens is going to be very big to disrupt Arch and whatever Sarkisian tries to do.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's one of those, man, he's just one of those guys, like, and it's almost like he has the mental capacity as far of like a middle linebacker. Like he has the job, like I got the intellect, I watch the film like I'm a middle linebacker. Because they're like the quarterback of defense. But like he's back there as a safety and he can blitz. He can cover in the, he could cover in the open field. He could tackle in the open field. He can make every play that you want a player to make on the defensive side of the ball, let alone your safety. So if you have to go in man coverage, he could cover. Like he's athletic enough, but he also doesn't, what makes it great is his instincts because he doesn't just, it's not like Jabril Peppers or Isaiah Simmons, where they were just athletic freaks of nature at the safety position and you were able to put them in all places, but it wasn't like potent. It was just freak athleticism with their plays on, on any given play, where like Caleb Downs, it is like watching like a middle linebacker have a great game on the defensive side of the ball. Like it's not all based off athleticism and how fast I am from sideline to sideline, as opposed to just how I find myself in the middle of every play on defense, positive or negative.
Well, let's get back to the quarterback here. Ohio State's quarterback, that is Julian Sayin, getting ready to start his first game as a full-time starter for really just first start ever. He never started last year as a starting quarterback. And this moment is pretty big for him, not just because it's Texas, but you're starting your very first game. What kind of nerves do you expect for him to have tomorrow?
A lot. I mean, like you said, in the factors is what the helmet, like what stadium you're in. This is the shoe. You play for Ohio State. So maybe would his nerves be a little less if he played for Cal or UCLA or something, sure. But your first start in an Ohio State uniform is at home as the defending national champions under Ryan Day against number 1 Texas as favorites as of right now. Like they're still standing as 1.5 point favorites as of right now. So you're already going to be with that type of hype around the game. I mean, this is the game of all games to open the season with. Texas versus Ohio State. Like, and so if you're Julian Sayin, like, the pressure's on to win this game. Like, I'm expected to be just as good as the quarterback on the other side. I'm expected to put ourselves in the game. I'm expected to be able to carry the trend on trying to win a national championship, and national championship being the expectation. So having all that with just the simple jitters of it being your first college start, but everything that comes with where your first start in college is, yeah, I think Julian's saying, I think the thing is they're going to try and be safe. Just get him a couple check downs, a couple wide receiver screens, see if they can make some positive plays. Let him see the ball be complete into the receiver's hands before you start trying to test Texas downfield. Don't just try and strike him early and put the ball in Julian Sayin's hands, because you're putting more pressure on him and you're raising the chances of him making a mistake early, and you don't want to have to find out early in the game when you're down. How does he react? You know, that's not what you want to find out about your quarterback in that type of game, not in that situation. So I think you just want to see him complete a few short passes early. I think they try and keep it short, sweet, and let their playmakers get the ball in their hands and get those yards after catch until his nerves do calm down. And I think there's probably just going to be a look, you know, from him to the sideline to Ryan Day to Brian Hartline to let him know, like, all right, I'm ready to go. I'm good now. I shook it off. Everything's settled in. I'm settled in. Let's go. But it is even more pressure for your first start. Like, this is the worst case scenario in anybody's first official start.
I don't think I would ever, even in a story, if I'm writing a book or trying to write a movie, that I would put a starting quarterback's first start in this kind of scenario. You're for Ohio State, you're at home, but you're playing the number 1 team in the country that you just knocked out of the tournament, of the playoff last year.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even try to put this in a book, man, but this is what we're about to walk into. And for Sayin, part of me is nervous for him, not only because it's his first start. Homie is so small. They say he's 6'1", maybe 210. I've also heard he's probably shy of 6 foot, closer to 200 pounds. He is very, very small. He's not the most mobile guy either. So let's say Simmons and the other guys up front for Texas and Anthony Hill Jr. start to get some pressure. How do you think he's going to handle that tomorrow when he's never been in this environment before?
That's a good point. I mean, he do seem kind of small too. Like, even I'm like, you know, for a pocket quarterback, I mean, he can move now. Like, Julian Sayin can make play. He'll make plays out of the pocket. You know, I think if you give him a run, he'll take it. He'll slide. You know, probably get you 4 or 5 yards if you give it to him. Especially if the flow of the game is going and the pass game is wide open and open. I think he'll be able to make some plays that way. But to be that small and not be that big physically either, and we're asking you to line up while Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill Jr. in that defense is what's coming at you all day for your first start, like, it's kind of tough. But it seems like also when you hear about Julian Sayin, like, what's impressive is the way he throws the ball.
Yeah.
If you want to hear one positive thing about your quarterback, you want to hear about how well he throws the ball. And so, I mean, if he's been this good up to this point, despite him being slightly small. He was a 5-star quarterback in Southern California. Like, it's not like he's coming from, you know, one of these smaller, like, recruited areas of the country. Like, he was in Southern California, in Carlsbad, California, right in between San Diego and LA. Like, he played some elite, top-notch, high-quality football, and he was a 5-star. Dang near rated just as good as Arch Manning. So, I mean, I think this is the time. I hate to say this is what we get to see what you're made of early, but that's the job. And so now we get to see what you're made of early. Do you fold under pressure? And a loss doesn't mean you folded under pressure either. You can put, at the end of the day, when the number 1 versus the number 3 team play, somebody got to win, somebody got to lose. Revert back to when Ohio State played Oregon last year. 34-33, down to the wire. Had there been 3 seconds left on the clock, when Will Howard when he slid, Ohio State has the opportunity to kick a game-winning field goal. So somebody had to win, somebody had to lose in that scenario. But I don't think you would say for the most part, I mean, yeah, the defense gave up 34 points, but you would just look like everybody played well, but that's what happens when two teams clash. So it's going to be the same thing. Like a loss doesn't necessarily mean it's over, depending on how you lose. But the expectation of playing well in this type of game and showing us what you're made of as a quarterback and as the leader of Ohio State, yeah, that part is tough for it to be your first start, but that's also the reality of your first start against number one Texas as an Ohio State quarterback.
One thing we haven't touched on yet, it's one of my biggest concerns for Ohio State in tomorrow's game. Mo and I will dive into that after the break. Hey, Locked On Buckeyes fans. Are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash back at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code FOOTBALL and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code FOOTBALL for a limited time 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code FOOTBALL. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. So, Mo, I am comfortable with Caleb Downs. I have to be. He's second best player in the country. You're fortunate to have him anyway. I think the defensive front, the front four, is going to get pressure on Arch Manning. I think Jeremiah Smith is a player you don't have to worry about. I mean, the ball's in his hand. He's electric. The one thing I'm worried about tomorrow is Brian Hartline calling plays. He's never done it before. Now, they say that he did it for a half a couple years ago. Cool. A half. I don't even know what game it was or the team they're playing. So, cool. It's like it happened, but we don't have enough knowledge to say, oh, he did well or he didn't. If he did well, he wouldn't have done it. He would have done a full game and done the entire year. I'm a little nervous about Hartline calling plays tomorrow because there is no preseason in college football. I know it's a point that everybody makes, but it's true. There is no preseason. He doesn't have a practice game to go up against even an Ohio or fill in the blank, Bowling Green, a G5 school, a MAC school to go up against and say, well, we have to game plan against another team that doesn't know us. It doesn't know our colors. It doesn't know our playbook. So I need to figure out a way to scheme up and to attack them in different ways. He doesn't have that. If you try and do that against Ohio State, Caleb Downs is over there. He already knows your calls because he sees them every day in practice. For Hartline tomorrow, that is my biggest concern. If Ryan Dale's calling plays, bro, I'd be straight. It'd be completely different. Even with a new starting quarterback, Day has this. I got it. I know what Day's going to do. The uncertainty around what Hartline's going to do and if he'll be able to get into a rhythm early, that is a big concern of mine.
I'm not 100% sure that Brian Hartline is 100% responsible for calling plays on Saturday. I know they said it. You obviously want my offensive coordinator is going to be calling plays, but also to think to me to have him, and I know a lot of times this isn't a abnormal thing, but he's not going to be on the field. He's going to be up in the skybox calling plays. So if things ever get too out of hand early, I'm sure Ryan Day will have no problem taking over in that moment to win this game, because at the end of the day, we all got the same goal. And maybe you just it's a big ask to ask Brian Hartline to go from wide receiver coach to offensive coordinator and then show us what you're made of calling plays in this type of game. In the game versus the number one team, you have to see if your game plan works. You got to test if the plays that you wrote up or whatever works. Even if you take a lot from Ryan Day and everything that you've learned from him coming up under him these past few years, it's still the pressure of, like you said, there is no game to see what you just watching y'all play against your defense. And that's what you're trying to figure out about your game plan, about your playbook, and how yours can be different from anybody else's and be able to create plays that are good for this Ohio State offense. And so I just also see if it gets a little shaky, I think him and Ryan Day have the type of relationship where it'd be like, hey, coach, you might have to, I don't know. I think I'm in over my head on this one. You might have to take over for the day. Like, I'll pass it to you. You know what you're doing. At the end of the day, Ryan Day was trying to give up responsibilities. Doesn't mean he won't take them back over.
That's an Urban Meyer thing too. I remember Urban Meyer when he was at Ohio State. There were times that he took play calling back over because he needed to, because things just weren't going well, and he removed responsibilities that he once handed out. And I think Ryan Day needs to do that. I don't think he's afraid to do that either, especially after what happened last year after those 2 losses. Ryan Day was not afraid to ruffle some feathers, to do the things that he needed to do to get Ohio State in the right position to be successful. And if that does happen on Saturday where Hartline isn't comfortable and he does look at Day and Day takes play calling back over, you know what Day can do calling plays. Like I said, if Day calls plays the entire time, I got no problem. I have no issues with it. The one thing I like about Hartline calling plays tomorrow is the position he's going to be in. Being up top, I think, is a massive benefit for any play caller, either offensive or defensive, because you're getting to see the all 22, getting to see all 22 players and to see the flow and see truly how people are lining up versus certain looks we're giving them. Your first 12 to 15 players, all that stuff is going to be scripted. He might be trying to see what Texas is going to do via versus one look versus another look. And I think him getting not only having the script, but being able to be way up high in the sky is going to really help him get a great view to potentially get in the rhythm early calling plays.
Yeah, I definitely would prefer him where he's at in the skybox as opposed to being on the field for this type of game and for this type of situation for him. But, you know, it just, like you said, with the Urban Meyer thing, like, it just come down to it. Like, I don't think Ryan Day will be afraid to take over the play calling duty if he has to win this game. And then, you know, back to the drawing board throughout the week for you. Also, like, I'm taking it over with also, like, man, we got 2 games. We got a couple weeks coming up where we could work out the kinks against a team that, you know, we're kind of supposed to run through. So we could go through that game plan and your installs there and try and figure it out and work out the kinks and have some film against another team. But at the same time, like, this game is the most important one right now, and we need to win this game. And so I think Ryan Day has showed you I'm going to do whatever it takes to win at this point. Like, and he did whatever it took, you know, and some offensive coordinators are gone, other jobs, whatever. I mean, but he did what he needed to do to win the national championship.
Mo, it's time to get our picks off. I mentioned mine on yesterday's show, but I'll say it once again, and we'll get yours here in a second. My biggest concern that I just mentioned a couple of seconds ago about Hartline, that's a big reason why I have a hard time picking Ohio State winning. I think Texas gets this one 20-17. It's just the offensive flow. It is not going to be – it won't be the – it's weird because a day ago I thought, is this game going to go like the Michigan game where the defense does everything it needs to do, but the offense can't get any type of flow, and it's a big issue. Now, Texas is way more talented than Michigan was last year. So I'm not even going to try to say Michigan is talented in the same way Texas is talented. I'm not trying to say that, but I think Hartline's newness to play calling in this game is a problem for Ohio State. And I think in the long run, Ohio State loses the first game of the year. I think it would be Ryan Day's first season opener that he was lost. But I don't think it's going to set him back. I think they're going to learn from it, bounce back in a big way. And, I mean, you got a couple of cupcakes next couple of weeks. If you lose to one of them, you got some really big problems. But I got Texas winning 20-17.
You know, Jay, you're an honest man. Like, and you know, I love that you were able, you cover the Buckeyes every day, faithfully, every day. Football, basketball, volleyball, hockey, it don't matter. And you came away and said, you know what? Because I'm going to put my honest football opinion out there that Texas is going to win 2017. Well, Jay, I'm not doing that. I'm not picking against Ohio State. I just can't. Ohio State 34, Texas 24. Ohio State 34, Texas 24. One, I think this Texas defense is slightly overrated. Now, their defensive line is amazing. Anthony Hill Jr. is an amazing linebacker. So I'm not, but you got to stop our guys over there. And I don't know if there's a unit in the country good enough to stop those. Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis, Mylan Graham, Max Clare. Like, that's to me the biggest X factor is we have what I think might be a superstar tight end. When's the last time we've had a first round pick caliber tight end? Like, so now, and we've had guys we've had some guys at tight end, Cade Stover. Like, don't get me wrong, I've loved our tight ends as far as what they can do for us. Jeremy Ruckert, all of those guys. But now we got a guy who's doing it and is compared to George Kittle, like Travis Kelce, like to open up the entire middle of the field. I think that's going to be a problem. You just added an entire weapon to, for Julian Sayin. And I don't think the lights will be any bigger for him than the lights are for Arch. So I think those two quarterbacks are battling the same thing. And to me, I wouldn't say that Julian Sayin is overrated because what are they giving him? Well, I think, Arch Man is a little overhyped right now. And if he proves me wrong, he proves me. I'm willing to be proved wrong. That's the thing. But I'm not fully buying into the hype that this guy, like, because you're like, well, he's a Manning. Well, like we talked about, there's a difference between being Peyton and Eli. Like, those are two opposite sides of the spectrum. Both are going to be Hall of Famers as far as what type of quarterback they were in the NFL and all that. But, like, Eli was not just this God sent. So everything that the Mannings touch isn't necessarily gold. And so that's why I look at with Arch, like, even the thing is, all of a sudden, this kid is back a superstar. But remember, when he committed to Texas, what was the one thing everybody said? Because they were upset about him committing to Texas. What was the one thing that everybody knocked him for that was legit? Are we sure he's the best quarterback in the country? Are we sure he's even a 5-star? He's playing against like 2A private school kids. That's what everybody was knocking him, was the type of competition. Remember, he didn't go to the Manning camp. Like they didn't want to play any of the big time teams. He wasn't trying to play in any of the major 7-on-7s. They've hidden Arch to the point of like, okay, and then we pop him out against Louisiana Monroe or Louisiana Lafayette, one of those two teams, whatever one they play. Then he had to play against Mississippi State in the world's worst defense. But we made sure that Quinn Ewers was back and ready to go. If Arch was so good, he would have been starting. I'm not saying that he's not going to go on to be great. But if Arch was great like that right away, he would have been starting. They would have benched Quinn Ewers last year. Because there were so many times throughout the middle of the season that you thought that we could, if Arch was better, he'd be in the game because Quinn Ewers is playing like an average quarterback. So I'm just saying, and it'd be the same with Julian Sayin. If Will Howard was playing average through the middle of the season, if Julian Sayin was that good, we would have replaced him at that time. If you felt like he was capable of winning a national championship and that's what you had your eyes on with that type of talented team. So I'm taking Ohio State 34, Texas 24. Horns down, baby. Go Buckeyes.
Those of you watching on YouTube saw my face when he said the 10-point win for Ohio State. I'm not shocked that Mo picked Ohio State, just that they're going to win by 10 points. But we'll be able to talk about this tomorrow. There will be a live show after tomorrow's game right here on the Locked On Buckeyes YouTube page. I will be here for 30 minutes and still reacting to the game. I hope my prediction is wrong, Mo. I'm not going to lie to you. You know my fandom. You know Rob. You see the hat on my head.
I know. That's why I said, like, you are such a good guy. You are great at this. Because there's no way. I would never. Like, just because I feel like I'm great at it, but I'm not that. Like, any other team, I'll predict the Cowboys to lose. So any team I root for, but not Ohio State. If you ask me, we're going 12-0 every year, and we got an opportunity to win the national championship. And I won't write the schedule. Penn State, Oregon, USC, it doesn't matter. I'll be dead wrong, and we can go 9-3 one year. But I just can't pick against them. I just can't. And in this type of game, I think it's fair. And the 10 points, I know it sounds like a lot, but there's a scenario where it's like we're up by 3, and we just score a touchdown to put it away. Like, we're up 3, we go up 10. Texas gets the ball back with 4 minutes left. They weren't able to complete the drive. We run out the clock. Then you watch the game, and you're like, 10 points ain't that bad. Like, even though we beat Texas 28-14, like, you take away the fumble recovery, the most we were ever up was 7. Like, and Texas had an opportunity all the way up to that point. Remember, they marched it down the field and then got knocked back a couple plays with Ohio State standing up at the goal line, even after a couple pass interferences. Like, people forget about how Texas and how that play with Jack Sawyer even ended up happening. Is it was a desperation play because we knocked them back multiple yards on negative plays while they were at the goal line dang near about to score and tie up the game. So it's not like, even when we won by 14, we didn't blow Texas out. We didn't even really fully dominate them from start to finish. So we win by 10, but it'd be one of those, it's a dogfight game. We're up 27-24, and we score 4 minutes left. Jeremiah Smith has the touchdown to basically the dagger in the heart. Texas feels all the pressure to have to respond, and the defense steps up, makes a play, run out the clock, boom, we happen to win by 10. In your mind, really, it was 27-24, but the final score, 34-24, we put the dagger in their heart.
That is Mo Murphy. You can follow him on Twitter at Coach Mo Murphy. You can follow me on Twitter and any social media platform at jsteven07. This has been your Feel Good Friday edition of Locked on Buckeyes. We will be back tomorrow, like I mentioned, right here on the YouTube page at Locked on Buckeyes, instantly reacting in a live post-game show to tomorrow's showdown between Ohio State and Texas.